Welcome to Spartan Sports Close-Up. I'm your host, Mike Bucci. Today, we are joined by baseball enthusiast John Thompson. John has been involved with baseball since 2011 through his work with the New York Boulders of the Frontier League. Thompson's work with Boulders has given him a working knowledge in the business phase of baseball. Thompson has various connections through other independent baseball lead managers and other insiders through his official YouTube channel, the J.L. Thompson YouTube channel. Now stepping up to the desk, we have John Thompson. How you doing, John?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Mike? Always good to see you. Always good to be on your show.
Good to see you. So, post-lockout, how do you think the baseball fans will get back involved?
Well, judging from what happened in '94, if you think about it, baseball really wasn't back on people's radars till '98. So this time I think the MLB has to learn from their lessons of '94 and do a little more fan outreach. They also need to accept the fact that the younger generation doesn't want to see a slow-paced game, so they have to figure out some way to reach out to the younger generation. So I think they come back with lowering ticket prices, getting to games more convenient, and then finally finding some way to cater to younger audiences.
I couldn't agree more, John. So, as for the steroid-era players, do you think they still deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame?
That's a tough one because, part of you says, they preserved baseball, they saved the game. But then, how many fellas did, play baseball without the benefit of steroids? My whole thing, if you watch the movie 61 on HBO, it was directed by Billy Crystal. Roger Maris's wife refused to be at the McGwire-Sosa home run race. And McGwire wanted to hold Roger Maris's bat after he broke the record, and she said no. So that goes to show you, it speaks volumes about how they don't acknowledge him as the home run record holder. But I do think baseball's going to have to swallow its pride and make a Hall of Fame room for steroid-era players. Because how do you know who was doing it and who was not?
Right. It's very hard to tell. So, when and how do you think the collective bargaining agreement will come to a conclusion?
Well, as of today, having spring training canceled, that's a huge letdown for baseball fans and all of us. We all look forward to after the Super Bowl pitchers and catchers. We're not going to get that, but I think during COVID, we were seeing a good example. July 23rd, we were able to start, and we were able to get 50 games. So, I think eventually, baseball's going to see that. These other networks are going to pick up the KBO, they might pick up a Japanese league or two, or they might pick up, the NCAA Division I baseball, and they might see that there's another, market out there. And then once we get to the summer, i.e. June, July, baseball's not going to be wanting to be left out. So I think ultimately they will come to an agreement. I think a lot of it right now is both sides posturing, and I think the players know that they really have to do better for themselves than they did in '94. So I think it's a really slippery slope. But I think it's coming down to the 11th hour. I think they will get a deal at some point.
I couldn't agree more, John. So, what will be the turning point for the baseball league post-lockout?
I think they're going to need some kind of turning point. I think they're going to need to really market somebody chasing a record. If you remember Roger Clemens, we just mentioned steroid-era player, but he did have 300 wins post the other lockout. We had Barry Bonds post-lockout. You had the Angels in 2002, won their first World Series. I think they're going to have to do more with the individual cities to try to bring them up and to promote them. And I think they have to figure out a way outside of MLB extra ratings to get the West Coast teams on television more.
Very knowledgeable, John. So one more question for you. How do you think the MLB will expand into other cities as they move forward?
Well, I think there's definitely plans in place. I think you see it every day. I think Dave Dombrowski is actually working on a team in Nashville. They're actually working on having teams in Nashville, Mexico City. They just 86 the idea of Montreal. But they're also going to have a team in the Bahamas, too, as the Bahamas are building a stadium because they need extra tourism revenue post-pandemic.
That would be exciting.
Because people are not coming for the beaches and everything, so they need a destination to create.
Right.
So I would not be surprised to see those three areas, Nashville, Mexico City, Bahamas, be the ones that we're looking at in the future, and not too distant future.
Awesome, awesome. Well, John, I hope this is not a season-ending strike. Thank you for joining me today on Spartan Sports Close-Up. I'm Mike Bucci. This has been John Thompson. Thank you.